As I was getting sober, I had the unique opportunity to go through a program called Warrior Forge. And we had to write out our mission statement, and my mission statement was empowering others through faith, affirmation, love, and truth. And when we started the company, I was like, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. We're going to empower other people through faith, affirmation, love, and truth. We are in the people building business. We just happen to do construction in order to pay for it.
Welcome to Courageous Stewards, the podcast where legacy meets leadership.
We believe stewardship isn't just about managing resources. It's about multiplying impact, honoring purpose, and building with eternity in mind. Each week, we dive into business-focused discussions on real estate investing on a foundation of faith and family.
We have a desire to inspire listeners with a heart to reclaim their time, talents, and treasures for something greater. Whether you're growing your portfolio, leading a business, or a family, we need to become the best version of ourselves.
This is your space to gain wisdom, walk in courage, and steward what matters most.
Let's build what lasts. Let's lead with love.
Let's become courageous stewards.
All right, welcome back, listeners. We're excited for this one today. I've got a special friend here as our guest. Jake and I connected with a while back and wanted to make sure he was on here. He's an influence. He's a leader in the community. And you want to talk about impact, Jeff is out there making it. So we got Jeff Beam here today with R&R Handyman. We go back. We're friends. We're brothers in Christ. We met in a recovery group through our church years ago, and our lives have changed tremendously ever since walking with God and just stepping in line with His plan for our lives. And I know Jeff can speak into that. His testimony is incredible. It's far more powerful than my own, and now he's using that testimony to change lives. So we're going to jump in with Jeff today. Jeff, you just want to share for a minute what we're looking for right off the start is just kind of like, where was Jeff?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. Yeah, I mean, you brought up the recovery group. Obviously, there's a reason I was in that recovery group. Where I was, man, I was raised by two great parents. I just didn't listen. I didn't listen. I spent 25 years chasing a pipe dream that I would be able to successfully use drugs and get away with it. It was one of those things I was trying to run from myself. I didn't enjoy who I was or anything that was really going on in my life. I hated myself more than anything else on the planet. And God found me. He found me in a broken place. And I got to meet some amazing people along the way. Yeah, I was lost and hopeless, and He just saved me from it, man. It was just amazing to think about, the little steps. We were looking at pictures last night it was yesterday at the Monday morning meeting. We have that at my mom's house every Monday, and the crew is there, and one of the guys I work out with, he's a huge guy, big, like muscular big, and I was showing him pictures of me, from 5 years ago at 350 pounds, and he was like, no, I was like, seriously? I was out of shape. I was just clean, still trying to figure out, what I was going to do next. It was amazing, to think about the transformation that's happened over the past, 5-6 years. It's powerful, man. The only thing it's God. He did amazing work.
So can you give us a little bit of a timeline as to, how things progressed for you?
Well, 2020, I had been sober for about 17 months. My father had been dead for about 10 months. And I made the decision that, going back out and using drugs was the best idea I had. Probation was letting us call in instead of, going in. And so it was really easy to, kind of pull the wool over the eyes of the probation office. And I just, I didn't have a why to stay sober. I really didn't. I didn't have a reason to stay sober, even though my father had given me this lovely list of stuff. And I'm grateful to say I'm about a third of the way through it now. I didn't have a good why. My kids were gone. The mothers were protecting them from me. And about August, it was August 27th, 2020. I went into my probation office. It was going to be my fourth dirty urine in 3 weeks. My probation officer, she's sitting there. She looks at me and she says, Jeff, do you just want to go back to prison? Because obviously you're not scared to go back. And then I was like, I just want to die. I just really want to die. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of lying to you. I'm tired of lying to my family. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of hiding. I just really just want to die. She said, well, what about rehab? I said, Judge will never approve that. I went in for my first felony offense and pled out to 3 years of probation and wound up in prison for 11 months. I was like, he's never going to approve this. But he did. And on my 39th birthday, I got the approval from what was the Renewal Center, it's now OGS in Napoleon, to go in inpatient. Met some amazing guys in there. One of them, my sober twin, Bill, who's just been my rock. He's a great guy. I can call him 3 o'clock in the morning, he'll be there. And I found a way to live instead of slowly killing myself in front of everybody I loved. While I was there, it was my second week. And if anybody knows anything about the 12 steps, the third step is turning your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand him. Well, I had a rudimentary knowledge of who God was. And I just had made the determination that I was going to try the faith of my father, because they gave us the option to go to church on Sundays. I had said no the first time. They had offered it to me because I didn't want to go. I wasn't ready to sit in a church. Then I wound up at Crossroads Church in Napoleon that week. And as I'm walking up, there's this little lady. She's about 4 foot nothing. Name's Grandma Pat. Grandma Pat, she's standing there. All the guys that came from the center, they're all giving her hugs. And this lady's not going to hug me. I'm a big, tough guy. I'm not, she's not hugging on me. I walk up. She didn't ask. She didn't wait. She walks up, throws her arms around me, and she said, I just need you to know that God loves you. I love you, and you're worth it. And I'd heard those words so many times before. My dad had said it to me. My mom had said it to me. My cousin, who is a deputy sheriff, who is the only person I would turn myself into, he had said it to me the last time I was in the back of his squad car. And it didn't hit, but the moment that she said it and she threw her arms around me, I felt what I can only describe as the presence of God in that moment. I felt love and just this warmth that just kind of washed over me. And I knew in that moment that God was real and that he loved me and he cared about me and that I was there and I didn't have to go back. It's a common prayer I say every day because I don't know what each day is going to bring. I have a schedule and all those other funny things, but if you pray the prayer of Jabez and ask him to expand your territory, he puts some unique situations in your life every single day. And so my prayer most days is, Lord, I'll go anywhere you send me. Just don't send me back. Just don't send me back. Like, I'll go anywhere you send me. Just don't send me back, because I can't imagine a life worse than that. I've seen too much to go back. I've seen too much to not believe again. It's really hard to even call it faith, because faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not yet seen. I've seen too much. But, it's moving at that 18 inches from my head to my heart sometimes is hard, because I'll believe he'll do it, but I don't always believe he'll do it for me. So, that has to be my prayer every day. I'll go anywhere you can send me, Lord. Just don't send me back. It's nice to be a Samuel. Here I am. Send me. It's great. It's great feeling that. It's scary sometimes, very scary sometimes, because he does put me in some unique situations. But man, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
I mean, he built you to be in those unique situations, because
Apparently.
I don't know too many guys wired like you, Jeff, that could be in that moment.
Yeah, wired is a good word for that too.
And pour into the men that you pour into now.
It's amazing.
In that same way in the life that you're changing now.
Yeah. He's blessed me with a good group of men and ladies. We diversified. We don't just work with men anymore. We have a couple females who work with us as well. And that's, it's kind of where it all did start. As I was getting sober, I had the unique opportunity to go through a program called Warrior Forge. And we had to write out our mission statement. And my mission statement was empowering others through faith, affirmation, love, and truth. And when we started the company, I was like, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. We're going to empower other people through faith, affirmation, love, and truth. We are in the people building business. We just happen to do construction in order to pay for it. I'm not scared to lose money. It doesn't scare me. As long as what we're doing is a service for our customers and our employees, God's taking care of the rest every single time. It is an amazing situation. I am not a business-minded human being, and here I am 5 years later. Thank you, Sean, for your vote of confidence.
It was the fact that your mission started with a why that was bigger than money or profitability.
Well, it had to be. You have to have that why first, I think. It has to be a why, and if your why is money, there's a million things I can do to make money. Yep. I work hard. I leave my house about 5:30 every single morning. I don't get home until 7, 8 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then I crash out and sometimes fall asleep in my work clothes and just wake back up and start it all over again. Making money's easy. You know, I found a million different ways, some of them legal, some of them not, in order to make money. So making money isn't the concern. And money has never really been, you know, high on my list of priorities. Obviously, it's a tool. It's a great tool. Money's a great tool, just like any other tool. But my dad had some great advice when it comes to tools. He said you should respect the tool and never fear it, because the moment you start to fear it is the moment it's going to come back and bite you. So my brother learned that firsthand with a table saw one time. Love it, Dan. I kept the table saw.
Got a memento. So you've come from a lot.
We have.
Found God. You felt love, and you found love at church from a good person that just was just happy you were there.
Absolutely.
Wasn't judgmental. Wasn't like, okay, let's look at some check boxes here. Are you clean? Are you a man of God already or not? Because I'm only going to hug you and love on you if you meet this criteria.
Absolutely.
It's just love right where you're at. I mean, that's a reflection of God for sure. And I know you say you're worth it a lot. And it's cool hearing that story. To hear where that came from a little bit with both your dad and that lady at church, because now it puts a lot of gravity, a lot of weight in that. Because that sounds like that for you was a big turning point, if not the turning point.
It became the mission when it became the mantra, I guess, would be the best way to describe it, because I had to believe that I was worth it, which is still a difficult thing to do, because the Apostle Paul, he says, all men are sinners, you know, and of them I am the worst. You know, we are always our worst critic. And so to believe that even with my faults and my failings, that I am still worthy of being loved by God, man, how amazing is that concept? You know, it doesn't matter that you fall short. You know, though a righteous man falls down 7 times, he'll rise again. You know, it isn't the falling that makes us sinners. It's the staying down there. You know, that's the problem. The problem is that some of us get very comfortable staying where we're at, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all those fun things. And the Lord's placed a multitude of counselors in my life that have come alongside of me. And in those areas where I'm weak, he's given me people that are strong in those things, and they speak life into those dead things in my life. And they call me up, you know, they don't call me out. They're like, you know, are you sure this is the right path for you?
Truth and grace.
Are you really trying to do this? Is this a Jeff thing or is this a God thing? Which is a difficult question to answer, because sometimes Jeff things sound like God things.
Or we make them sound that way, right?
Look, I could.
No, this is a God thing. I'm telling you right now.
I'm telling you right now.
I just feel it. I've been thinking about it. I want it, so it's a God thing.
Well, and we do have to be careful about that, especially even when you're like I'm flipping through the Bible. Oh, this passage says that I can go ahead and do that. Yeah,
let's just tweak that a little bit.
The devil did that once too. It didn't work out well for him. So try to use it in context at least. But yeah, it's a whole thing, you know, being able to accept that grace and the truth. You know, humility, failing, falling down. I'm okay with failing and falling down. It was the rising that was the hard part. You know, because it's, you know, you do it right, people start expecting you to do it all the time. And consistency is crazy to me, and it's not anymore, but it was back then, because, you know, to stay consistent meant that I had to stay on point, and then I had to do the things that I said I was going to do and follow through, and I wasn't very good at that.
Yeah, and now the expectations are higher.
Because
now you're influencing men around you. We talked about it. One of the other episodes was like somebody's waiting on your growth.
Absolutely.
And so we have to show up every day, keep reflecting it, keep getting even better at it, and better at it, and better at it. But I struggle with the same thing of just feeling worth it. I don't feel worth it. I don't deserve it. But I'll sit down and look around sometimes, or I was at small group last night, and in that moment there, I'm just like, I don't deserve this. The way that small group was and how those people were, and just getting alongside those men, it was like, I don't deserve to be here. From the way I was and how I was treating people years ago. So it is tough, but I think we've got, like you said, we got to receive the grace. So you're here now.
I am.
Long way. That was a little bit more about where you came from.
It is. I want to hear, sorry to interrupt. I know you guys are having a great conversation.
I can talk to him all day.
Here.
We'll just go back and
We've
forth.
done listening.
This.
I think it's incredible. But I want to hear from that point forward. So you met the little old lady who came, gave you a hug.
Yes.
What happened then?
Okay, so I finish up treatment which was unique. I was doing the 12 steps. I had a sponsor, and I was told it was going to be a 90-day program. I only was eligible for 29 days. It was the tail end of COVID. The Adams Board sponsored me for 29 days. I didn't qualify for insurance or anything like that. I just didn't qualify. And so I was scared. And so I just attacked it. I attacked the steps. I attacked my recovery. Sun Tzu says, know thy enemy. And I decided that I was going to know who my enemy was. As soon as I left there, I left October 14th, 15th, somewhere in there. It's 15th because it was my daughter's birthday. By the 18th, I was enrolled in college. I was taking an accelerated course, doing chemical dependency counseling at Satzenberger. Got 2 degrees from that. While I was working on that, I came alongside Nick Salinas, who owns Steadfast Movers. He was just getting started, and I'm sitting in a moving truck with him every single day, and he was about 5 years into recovery and had built his faith quite a bit. He had just left staff, I think, with experience. He and I were in a truck every single day, listening to sermons, and he's speaking life into me and doing everything else. And I met an amazing man named Mike Osborne. We were doing a move for them, and we're sitting there. And Mike Osborne, he's like, hey, we're on the last day of this 6-day move because they had a lot of stuff to get moved. And he's like, hey, I just want to pray over you guys. And he's sitting there praying. He's Lord, I just want you to bless their businesses to overflowing and abundance and this, that, and the other thing. We get in the truck, and Nick's like, do you realize what just happened? I said, no, what I do realize is I don't own a business. He said, no, apparently you do. You just don't know it yet. Well, the next week, we went into a customer's house, and we were moving them in, and the lady said, hey, I need a handyman to mount a TV mount, literally the next week. And I was like, well, yeah, I can do that. Sure. And he's like, are you sure you can? I said, bro, I've had a hammer in my hand since I was old enough to hold one. I did banking and finance for a decade. I tried to stay away from construction. My dad was a construction worker. He had told me for years, construction is an option. He said, but son, it'd be a waste. You have this beautiful mind. Go use it doing something else. And so I tried to avoid doing construction. And when I got that phone call, I went in the basement of my parents' house, and there was a bag of DeWalt tools that my dad had hidden in the basement. It was in this stand-up freezer down there. So I started the company using a dead man's tool bag and a Dodge Dart, and here we are. Here we are 5 years later. It's been a growing process. It's been difficult. And there's been trials and there's been other stuff, but I've been doing only the business for 4 years, though I sold it briefly. I bought it back 2.5 years ago. I thought God was calling me in a different direction. And go back to Nick. He said, hey, you're gonna come into situations if you keep working with God that He's going to, He's going to give you 2 good options, and you'll just flip a coin. And if you pick wrong, He'll direct you back to the right one. So sure. I had sold the company to work for a 501c3. I thought it was the right thing to do. I was going to be the in-house maintenance guy for him. Turned out that wasn't the right place for me to be. Differences in opinion, I guess, as far as everything. And within 2 weeks, I was doing estimating for the company I had sold, and within 6 months, I owned it again. So yeah, I've tried to walk away many times from this calling. He won't let me. We stopped advertising for 9 months because I was just like, as soon as we run out of business, I'm shutting down. I didn't advertise. I didn't answer my phone if I didn't have to. And we stayed active and open, and we made payroll every week for the next 9 months. And I was like, maybe it's time to start advertising again. So I guess He's not going to let me just walk away from this, which has been a blessing. We get to pour life into people. We have 14 full-time employees right now. Everyone's in recovery. And that was kind of, the mission that God had placed on my heart as I was doing this, because as we're going out and I'm doing estimating and I'm looking at the jobs get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to the point where I just couldn't do things by myself. I needed a helper. And so I picked up a helper, and it was like, I think God wants me to just hire recovering drug addicts, because I'm sitting there and, back up just a little bit, I got my degree in chemical dependency counseling. I got certified by the state of Ohio, and it took me 6 months to find a job. I went to 12 interviews. Everybody's like, you're great, you're the perfect fit, you're exactly what we want, you're in recovery, you know, and people who are in recovery, they respond better to people who are in recovery, da-da-da-da-da. But nobody'd hire me once they'd look at my background. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it as I'm working at a sober living facility. I'm like, I have 2 college degrees, a resume that says that I'm impeccable at everything that I do. And it took me 6 months to find a job. What's it like for these guys that are sitting in here? They don't have a GED, you know, they've never worked a real job. They don't have the upbringing, the work ethic that I have. What are they doing? Mm-hmm. And so it was like, if we're going to expand, we're going to expand with recovery people, and that's it. So every single employee is a recovering drug addict. You know, there are certain stipulations. You have to have at least 6 months sober. Yep. You can't have any violent crimes, any sex crimes, stuff like that in order to work with us, you know, because we want to make sure our customers are protected and their property is protected, as well as their family and everything else involved with it. But other than that, we're the second chance stop for a lot of these guys. For some of these guys, it's the only job, you know, that they can find. At the same time, you know, I've written a lot of letters of reference for people, you know, when it was like, hey, you want the opportunity to go someplace else, please do. You know, I want to, you know, this is a stepping stone for some people, you know, just to get, you know, an active work history and a skill set. But more important, get them to come along, guys like Sean, to work on different stuff like financial planning and things, you know, come alongside guys like Hobson so that they can build who they are as a man, you know, personally, and then just speaking life into them. Because again, when you look at the statistics on it, 85% of the people that are inside of the prison system come from fatherless homes. Yeah. So it's like these guys never had an actual display of what masculinity looks like or what it looks like to be a man. Yeah. I had a great example with my dad. My dad retired at 79 from construction. So like he worked his butt off for years. And this is after falling 2 stories at Rikers Island. They were adding on to Rikers Island. He fell 2 stories, ruptured 4 discs in his back, went and got the surgery, went back to doing construction again. You know, he's a maniac. Like I had a really great example. I just didn't listen all the time.
Wow, that's a lot. It's a lot
a little bit
to take in. So fast forward now.
Yes.
Let's talk about kind of where you're at. What I know you've said a little bit about the business and the folks that you have working for you full time and stuff, but you kind of parallel both business and a ministry.
Yes.
So let's talk through that a little bit.
Wonderful. Yeah. It is more of a ministry than anything else. It's a whole lot easier when you don't have to deal with boards and the federal government, you know, figuring out, you know, like with donations and stuff. When Daryl and I were doing the podcast, we had talked about, you know, doing kind of a ministry part of it where, you know, we would actually help people in recovery. We were talking about doing like a sober living facility and partnering alongside with some other people. Back to one of my mentors, Nick, you know, he was like, you know, you can do a whole lot more with a business and treating it as a ministry than you could, you know, with just a ministry just by itself, because, you know, you get to generate your own revenue. You're not just waiting for the money to kind of come in. So yeah, it's a big thing. You know, we pray in every single morning. This actually is the one time I'm late this week, and when I miss it, my guys actually call me out on it. It's pretty amazing. They'll be like, "Hey, did we miss something yesterday?" Yeah, we did. I'm sorry, but you know, I get to be hands and feet of Jesus. You know, the ultimate goal is to get these people saved. It's not just about a paycheck. It's not just about the job. It's I was talking to Brandon from Ridge Project. It's not just about a bathroom. You know, it's about building up the men and the women that we get to come alongside and partner with them to improve their lives, you know, through scriptural truth. You know, yesterday morning at the Monday morning meeting, I did a little mini 5-10 minute sermon with these guys where we were talking about, you know, how you can, you know, your survival story can be the survival manual for somebody else if you stick around long enough, because God didn't just pull us from the fire so we could pretend like we don't smell like smoke. Right. Yeah, amen. You know, he didn't pull me from the fire so I could be like, oh, I'm all better now. You know, no, he says, hey, go back for the next one. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I've met most of these people and I don't like them. I don't like people. If I could disappear somewhere, I probably would for about a week and then come back and be like, all right, I'm bored. So. But yeah, no, it's amazing coming alongside these people. For some of these people, this is they're carrying around church hurt. They're carrying around other stuff because as people who have been in active addiction, sorry Christians, but we've given ourselves a branding problem. We're very quick to judge when really, Jesus always led with grace then truth. He healed people. He didn't say, okay, go clean up your life and then I'm going to get you off the mat. No, he got them off the mat and then said, now go and sin no more. With the lady who was getting ready to get stoned to death, got the crowd to disperse, and then what'd he say? Go and sin no more. It wasn't, hey, you're a dirty little harlot, let's go ahead and let's see what happens next. No, you know what? Nobody else is going to condemn you. Neither am I going to condemn you, but go in, sin no more. So, it's meeting people where they are, but loving them enough not to leave them there and then showing them, there's a better way. Somebody came alongside of me and did the same thing. That's what we're called to do. We're called to go back and get the next one. Being the hands and feet of Jesus doesn't always mean serving at church. It's serving in the community. So we get to do a service for our community while doing a service in our community. Yeah. So it's amazing. Just seeing these lives that get impacted in the way God uses the mundane to make miracles happen. It's just great.
I've got to praise your commitment, I think, a little bit here to your customers, the people that will contact you and say, hey, I'm up against a deadline. And you will drop, or not necessarily drop, you will fit in that person to fit their timeline when 99.9% of contractors and or other business owners would say, I just don't have time for you.
Right.
Jeff says, I will find the time for you if it costs me sleep. I will do whatever I have to do. When is this due? Yesterday? Okay, consider it done.
Consider it done.
That's incredible.
Well, I was told a long time ago, by my father. I reference him a lot. He said, if somebody's going to pay you an honest day's wage, you give them an honest day's work. And especially for the people who are reaching out and they're like, look, I'm in trouble. If there was another option out there, you'd call somebody else. So I treat it not as a, oh, look at me situation. It's like, man, where did you have to get to in order to pick up that phone? Because I know what it was like to be at the, like, 'cause I'm still a proud man. I'm still a proud person. I have a hard time asking people for help. I just do. It's one of those social issues I have, I don't like asking for help that very often. So I see it when other people are reaching out for that hand. I want to reach back, to help them pull them out. Is it always possible? It's not always possible because sometimes statistically we can't. There are so many hours in the day. I have so many people working for me, but man, there's been times where I've hired people just to go and do a job. Like, hey, I don't really need you forever, but I'm going to be on this job for a week. I can teach you everything that we can do here because it's something that's definitely in my wheelhouse. I really just need a second set of arms. Guy from church, Jalen. The one day I was like, I need you to just carry my tool bag around with me, and I need you to be able to reach up high. What are you talking about? I was having back spasms, and I just couldn't, even on a step stool, I wasn't able to really just reach up. I said, so I just need you to carry stuff for me, and as I'm asking for it, just hand it to me. And if it's in a position where I can't get to it, I'm going to need you to do it. And had zero construction, and actually that's really kind of what we kind of gear towards. I have hired a couple people with construction backgrounds, but they're few and far between just because most construction guys come with baggage. They come with bad habits. They come with things, like good enough construction doesn't exist with us. We try and do everything with excellence. It's just very difficult, Vince Lombardi, perfection is not attainable, but we can strive for it. So to do everything to the best of our abilities every single time so that our customers have the best experience that they can. And we're growing about it. It's one of those things. We're learning as we go. We're finding ways to make sure that, our customers' homes are staying cleaner. There's a learning curve to it. There's a million things that they don't teach you when you're starting a company. Like you have to file for a BWC policy, like all those fun things. That's the thing this week. They don't tell you those kind of things when you're filling out the paperwork. So there's a learning curve to it. We've fallen a couple times and found the right people to direct us so that we don't stay lost for long. It's just, it's amazing, you know, when the problem presents itself, God either presents the solution perfectly, or he presents someone who can guide us so that we can develop the right solution for the problem, which is just awesome.
Yeah, it really is. Well, that's incredible. So you're here now,
I'm here now.
and you've done a ton. You've done a tremendous amount.
We've done a little.
And it's awesome. Your story is inspiring to see what you're doing. What does the vision look like going forward? Where are you trying to go now?
Well, I guess the vision, I mean, I try not to think of it in numbers, though numbers have to be kind of part of it. You know, when you're running a business, we do have to look at numbers. You know, there has to be, you know, money is a great tool, and we have to have a certain amount of it. Our hope is to grow to this year 1.2 million in revenue so that we can impact lives. But the real growth that we're really hoping for is to get all of our employees saved. That's really that's the mission. That's the long-term mission, to speak life into these guys enough, get them in a room with a guy named Jesus so that they can meet him and have a radical transformation. And that's the biggest goal. Like I'd throw it all away. I would burn it all to the ground if I knew that I was going to save them. Because man, like, I've lived through hell. I lived in hell for a very long time, and man, I can't imagine spending an eternity there. And so, yeah, our goal is to get them saved so that they can go out and they can make disciples, because, you know, that drop in the bucket can create a ripple that'll go through generations. So people who haven't even been thought of being conceived yet, you know, they don't deal with the alcohol and the drugs and those problems because it's not even like on their radar.
Yeah.
You know, it's not acceptable. You know, as for my house, we'll serve the Lord. Not a lot of room for drugs and alcohol if you're sitting there serving the Lord. So to be able to get in there and not just impact the life of the person that we're employing, but the life of every single person that they encounter, so that they can go out and they can be that sweet fragrance of heaven, so that they can be the hands and feet, so that they can make disciples. You know, it's just an amazing thought.
That's a great vision, man. Having that goal to align with God's plan in regards to being a disciple for him, and that being your business objective is going to be very powerful. And I see continued growth and blessing just because of the fact that your heart posture is aligned. Being able to make an impact, have a business, be successful, and see your life the way it is now is a huge testimony, man.
He's done some really good work. And he didn't have much to work with. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful I get to be a part of it.
I reflect back on some of my moments back then, too. It's just like, what a mess.
What a mess.
What a mess.
Like,
But God.
What did you see in me,
Amen.
Lord? What did you see in me? Like, man, I would love to ask that question. I know that, you know, when I get there, you know, there's not going to be any more of those concerns, you know, but it'd be lovely, you know, just to see, you know, just one time with God's eyes, exactly what he had planned, you know, just so that I can be like, really? Me? Like, that's what you wanted to do with this broken man.
Yep.
It's powerful. It's powerful. And I get tiny glimpses of it, I think, every day. I get tiny glimpses of it, but just to get a good 2-second snapshot of what it is that he's got in store, man, it'd be great.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting concept that you say, thinking, or for just a moment, it would be nice to see things through God's eyes. And I almost parallel that with, you know, our call to be courageous stewards, right? I mean, he's called us to be stewards, and sometimes we don't even know exactly what that looks like. Like, we go through life with intention. We try to do the best we can, but we can't see things exactly the way that God sees them through that lens. And so we try to do the best we can with what we have, with the calling on our heart, and we put forth the action, which is the courageous part. But it's interesting to think of it from that perspective, where if only you could see for a moment through the lens of God and what his path and intentions are for your life exactly, it boggles my mind to think
It's hard
what
to process.
could be.
Yeah, it's hard to process that.
If you just knew, you just try to do the best you possibly can. And I think that people that are listening to our podcast, they have that frame of mind and that heart. They don't know exactly what the next step necessarily look like. They are just to a point where it's like, I'm going to be courageous and I want to be a good steward. Now let's start taking some steps.
Yeah.
And I think you're a testament to that, where you don't know exactly what the next step is going to look like, but you have a heart for others and a heart to do what's right and some intention, and you're just going to start walking that out.
It's a whole lot simpler. It's I hate when people say I'm trying. Like, hey, but I'm trying. If you were trying, you'd have made more headway by now than you have. You have two possible outcomes. You can either let fear keep you stalled where you're at, or you can just take the first step. It's not as complicated as people think. My buddy Bill's son was like, if Jeff can start a business, so can I. So just by filing and getting my LLC and continuing to do this, even though it feels like I'm screwing it up every single day, I got another young man who's like, if he can do it, I know I can. Yeah. It's finding that thing, because again, we are stewards. We're just stewards. Like, I don't own the business, he does.
Yeah,
like, I'm just sitting here making sure that it doesn't go completely sideways. And it still goes kind of sideways, just not completely sideways. So if God's laid it on your heart, take the step. Like, stop sitting there and waiting. Because if he can use a donkey to carry his message, he can use you. It's not as difficult as you think. And it is just that step. It's just one step. One single step moves you forward. A journey of 1,000 miles is started with a single step.
Yeah.
Take the step. Whatever the step is. If he's calling you to go back to school, go back to school. If he's calling you to go ahead and come alongside somebody, go ahead and come alongside him. I can't tell you how many people have come into my life and it was just a random thing. I'm sitting there, I'm walking by and talk to him. I don't want to. Like, just go talk. I don't want to. Fine, I'm going to go talk to him. I have to meet with somebody today that I didn't want to talk to today. Why? Because he told me to. And then the next thing you know, we're building, we're partnering, we're doing other things, and we're just growing. And not even necessarily in the same direction, but we're growing in what God's placed in us. Yeah. You were talking about Alex. I met him at the gym. I didn't know who he was. And next thing you know, we're partnering on a business adventure to go ahead and do some other stuff. We're looking at a couple other things that are coming along. And he's got some great ideas. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm in. No matter what it is, I'm in. I just need you to know I'm in. Why?
Right.
Because he told me to say yes. God told me to say yes. We pray about it. We say yes. It blows up in my face like an Acme rocket kit. That's cool. God will come along and fix it.
Yep.
And if he doesn't, guess what? My family will still be there tomorrow. My wife will still love me. My kids will still not be talking to me because I screwed that up. But it's one of those things, if you take the step, it's not always, just because it looks like failure doesn't mean it is failure. Sometimes it just means that wasn't for you.
Yeah.
I stepped out. I tried to do this thing. God was telling me to do it. Did he really though? Did he really? Like, do you have some people that you're bouncing that idea off of? God told me to open a coffee shop. No, you like coffee. And you're like, it'd be a really great idea to open a coffee shop because I really like coffee. And it is what it is. So, and it's never been my idea. None of this was my idea.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know through the process who you're impacting anyway.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Maybe that one person, that one day that you were open doing the quote unquote wrong thing that you should have never been doing, you actually should have been doing because it impacted that one person that changed generations.
I had a text a while back from somebody from a couple of years ago had ran into me out in public or something. We had just talked and I just spoke a little life and I must have said one thing and they never forgot it, but they texted me the other day to thank me for that moment because it still resonates with them. And so, yeah, to your point, Jake, you don't always realize when that moment is God's going to use you.
Yep.
And Jeff, I know you're being the man of God you are. You go looking for those moments.
We pray for it every evening that he expands our territory.
Yeah.
And it's one of the, I've contemplated taking that prayer off my list every for the past month. We have 9 estimates coming up. I have a sales guy I'm training right now so that I can unload some of that part of it because really my heart is to be in the people building part of the company and less of searching for, the next job, though searching for the next job and finding the next, group that has, the apartments that they want done, or finding, the next homeowner. These are all great things. But building these people up that God's placed in my life to steward over and to lead, that's what's most important. Because again, it's not about the money. It's not about the bathroom. It's about impacting these lives so that they impact the lives of those that are around them so that they can take their next steps too. It's never been about me.
It's a reason that you and I partner up oftentimes on jobs, because it's like there's getting the job done, and the work's going to get done. Mm-hmm. I can hire somebody to do the work, but man, if I can hire somebody that's out there making an impact for Christ and His kingdom and saving lives, saving souls, man, I want to partner with that company. I want to work with that company. And you are so quick, prompt, your communication's excellent, and I know that the work's getting done. Mm-hmm. And if it needs something else, you're going to take care of it. And you're sitting here ministering to these men and growing God's kingdom. So I'm thankful for that, for sure. Mm. And just knowing, like, we are here to do that, to grow God's kingdom. And I think the message, like, I'm hearing a lot of weight and a lot of gravity in this, sitting here sharing with you. You don't have to be young to start. Mm-mm. You don't have to have you don't have to have things ahead of time to get started. No. Your life turned around at what age?
39, 39 years old.
That's when it all started. And now, did you have a bunch of money in the bank to start?
No.
It's like I'm hearing so much inspiration here and hope and testimony to, like, you can start late, you can start broke, and you can still bring glory to God's kingdom, and you can still be wildly successful.
You just got to start.
Yeah.
You got to start. It was what Ed Milet, he was talking, he talks about it a lot in his podcast. He said if Henry Ford was worried about who was going to service the Model A, he never would open Ford Motor Company. Yep. What happens when they break down? Who cares? Who cares? Just start. Yep. What happens if? What happens if it doesn't? What happens if it doesn't?
Yeah, you got to intersect both sides.
What if it blows up in my face? What if it blows up, period? Yep. And you get to do whatever you want with your life for the rest of that time? Like, there's two sides to that argument. What if it goes horribly wrong? What if it goes horribly well?
Yeah.
Like, there are other options. And was it Mark Twain who said, I've died 1,000 times, most of them in my mind? Like we set ourselves up for failure, and we think about, what's the word? What is it? Most people are worried about stuff that will never
like
possibly happen. 99% of the stuff you're worried about will never affect you. And if God's calling you to take that step of faith, well, I think God knows how prone you are to failing. I think He knows you. He made you, so you should probably just listen to Him.
Yeah, and that's what it was for me, was because there was fear in the unknown and uncertainty and not knowing. But I told Jake all the time.
I love that line.
It became a calling. Mm-hmm. Once I had established in my heart that this was not a Sean move, I have to go into this. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it looks like. Still had people at work going, "What do you can't just do this. Mm-hmm. You've got a good salary here. You got a good job here." But I was like, I know. You're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. This could go totally sideways, but Absolutely. It's a calling now, and you don't have any say in my relationship with God or my calling or what His plan is for me. So it made it very easy to just trust and go, we're doing this anyways.
I didn't have it. I had plenty of other options, but I didn't have a second option. Once he started pulling the strings and saying, this is the direction you're going to go, it was like, you're either all in or you're all out. He's either Lord of all or He's not Lord at all. Mm-hmm. And if what He's calling me to do is something that's uncomfortable, it's probably the best thing for me. We talked about it, the other day at church. It was like, look, if your butthole isn't puckering just a little bit, you're doing it in your strength, not His. If you're not a little bit scared taking that step of faith, it's not a step of faith. Because, Peter, when he got out of the boat, I'm sure, even though he was like, Jesus said, come, there was a moment where he's like, really? Yep. Like, is that really Him out there? Like, hold up. Where'd we meet at? Like, he didn't ask that, though. He just took the step because, again, that's what it takes to be courageous. It's stepping out on the choppy water, not knowing, but understanding, in the past, this is what the past has told me. When I step on water, I go in, right? But he's like, you know what? He said it. And just like he had said in the boat on when Jesus told him to cast it out on the other, because you said so. Just because you said so, because you said so, come and see. These are, man, it sounds so cliche, but I mean, these are the things that have really gotten me through those moments, because you said, I'll go. Yeah. And the second one, when people are asking, well, what do you, just come and see. Just come and see what happens.
Yep.
Just find out. You never know where it's going to lead to. Simple conversations, a small group, on a Saturday, a bunch of guys just getting together and going, you know what, I don't know what to do next, but I feel better when I'm in here.
Yep.
Led to, so many other things, and now I'm surrounded by people who want success for the kingdom. Every single day. So there's not a person in my wheelhouse that I can't call on and be like, hey, I'm going through an issue. Can you give me a little bit of guidance? Can you give me a little bit of discernment on this? Because a man who isolates seeks his own demise. It's in Proverbs. If I'm not reaching out for those other people, I'm taking my own advice. And I think Ben Franklin was the one who said, a man who represents himself in court as a fool for a client. It's the same thing. If I'm only getting business advice from myself, I'm doing foolish things because I'm not equipped to answer all these questions. So
I love your story, man. I think it's powerful. I think we could probably carry on in conversation for hours and hours and hours, and we want to respect your time. I would like to kind of transition this just a little bit and hopefully get a little piece of advice from you for our listeners with regard to maybe a podcast or a book or some piece of content that you have found valuable in your own life and or have passed on to others who you've had the ability to impact in some positive way. Can you give something to our audience that in that regard?
You mean besides the Bible?
Well, the Bible is a given. We know that one, and we can't say that one enough, without a doubt.
I've read through a lot of books. There's a lot of great ones out there. Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership. That's one of those ones where you can take those 12 habits. Currently, I'm reading Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just because it's one of those situations where I have to find a way to duplicate myself, and it really gives you the whys. And it gives you wise counsel as far as what to look for in those steps and, the natural progression of it. So that's what I'm working on currently. But yeah, a couple great books, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink is an amazing one. If your team leads don't have it, make sure that they've got it. The Messy Art of Leading Well is one by George Sykes. I met him at the the Becoming Man Global Summit last year. Read through it. Every one of my team leads everyone who is on track to be a technician has that book, and they're expected to read it. They gave me the 3 questions I try and ask my team at least once a week. What's going well? What challenges are you facing? How can I serve you better? So there's good books out there. John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws, to come to the graphic realization in the first chapter, the law of the lid, that your company will only be as good as you allow it to be by building yourself up. I'm a voracious reader. I read a lot. I spend a lot of time reading other people's knowledge because, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. I came from honest, hardworking, middle class, people who did not have backgrounds in business.
Yeah.
This was not the thing for me. So, when I got started, it's like, hey, do you know how to do this? Like coming alongside people like, yeah, there's books on that. Just go ahead and read it. I didn't have that. I had a multitude of counsel that came alongside me, and they suggested stuff. So the 21
Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, and Dan Martell's book, and The Messy Art of Leading Well is a very, very good one to use.
Those are really, really good. I've read most of that content, and I would advise anybody to pull those books and get some good information and knowledge out of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not just don't just read it. Don't just read it. Take the thing and apply it to your life. One of the things I learned early on when I was in finance was that if you're going to a training, if you're going to read a book, take that piece of information that you can apply in the next 30 days and apply it now.
Yeah.
Like not in the next 30 days, not next week, not next month. Take the step today.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting around for everything to be good, you're not going to get that. Calm seas never made a good sailor. Sometimes it's just taking that first step. And you'd be amazed before you're halfway through if you just take the first step. Like most people don't want to get in that uncomfortable, I'm safe here. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, that's fine. If that's what you feel like God's calling you towards, go right ahead and do it. But if you feel like he's calling you for more, understand there's going to be seasons where you're confused. You're going to have seasons where you're lost. You're going to have seasons where you're broke. You're going to have seasons where you just feel broken. But at the end of it, when you look back and you look at the lives that you've impacted, I can't tell you how many people come up and they're like, you're such an inspiration. And I'm like, I've never met you. What do you mean I'm an inspiration? Like we've never talked. No, but I've seen you. What? Chad, one of my good friends that I lived with, he came up to me. First time I talked, Chad Rock, you've met him. He walks up to me. And he said, hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. He said, and don't think this is weird. He said, but for the past 6 months, I've been watching you. And I was like, this is going to be good. Go on. He said, I've been trying to figure out how you fake it. I said, fake what? He said, how happy you are all the time. I said, I'm not happy all the time. I said, I'm just in a positive outlook on it. I said, there's days where I am not happy.
Right.
There are days where I'm downright mad at everyone and everything. But I try and find the good in it. Because there is good in everything. Every single problem is just an opportunity for growth. So, take the step. Don't be afraid of the what ifs. A bigger question would be, what if you didn't jump in? What if you didn't get in the boat? And then the boat sails off and it winds up in this amazing place. Take the step. Better to live knowing that it didn't work than to sit there with that question, on your deathbed, like, what would have happened if I had done this step?
By that point, it's too late.
Too late. I don't want to die with resentments. I don't want to die with regrets for the things I didn't do. So if I can get rid of those two things, I think I lived a full life.
What's your superpower?
Oh, man. Undiagnosed ADHD.
We've had this conversation many times.
Yours is undiagnosed?
Undiagnosed ADHD. I do have a high energy level, but I think one of them is empathy, not sympathy. Like, I remember, because it's not that long ago, I remember what it was like to feel lost and hopeless, so being able to meet people where they are, I really think is the actual one. The ADHD helps me, accomplish as many things as I can in a day. But we need to curb that because other people should be doing some of those things, Jeff. It's empathy, being able to meet people where they're at, and still to be able to speak to them in truth about the situation, I think would be probably, if I had to define a superpower, that'd be what it is. Radical empathy.
That's a really neat thought because you have something that a lot of people don't have. I can't empathize with a lot of the folks that you can. I haven't lived in that world ever. Yeah. So I can't even begin to imagine nor put myself there, whereas you can. Right. That's a huge superpower. It really is.
Yeah, a big part of influence and leadership is relationship and being able to connect on something or a thing. Because you try telling, if you had no background, no history of what, Jeff, you've been through and have seen with these men, and you're trying to pour into them, they're not going to be as receptive to somebody that's just, well, I just don't get it. I've never been there. You just need to do X, Y.
Right.
You go, no, I know where you're at right now.
Yeah. You just need to do X, Y, and Z. No. Hold up. First off, let's talk about that first.
Yep.
Let's talk about that thing that you just tried to glaze over. Yeah, well, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, but it'll be okay. Yep. No. Go back to X, Y, and Z.
Good.
Let's talk about X, Y, and Z real quick because obviously it's causing an issue. I was talking to Hobson this morning. He said, when you see a change in people, that's normally not the problem. This isn't the problem. This is the symptom. This is what you're seeing. You're seeing their work ethic slack off, and this is going this way. Well, what's the underlying problem? It's not that they just all of a sudden developed laziness overnight. It's not that they decided that I'm going to be sloppy. It's not that they decided I'm not going to be a very good carpenter anymore. Something else is going on. So to sit there and look at them and be like, I see you. To be able to look at and not just like, yeah, I see you, you're over there. No, like I see you.
Yeah, as a person.
I see who you are. Okay, you're not like this isn't for fun. You're not a hobby. This isn't just something I'm doing to kill time. I am here to help you grow. That's that last question. How can I serve you better? And I give my guys crap about all. Oh, you're doing the best you can. Look, if you haven't hit your 6 month, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year goals already, I haven't done my job. Please don't try and fluff me up. I don't need you to tell me how great I am. I know you're lying to me, one. Two, there's always something more, because if you haven't hit your goals yet, I haven't helped you enough, because those 6 months goals should have been demolished last month. Your 1 year goals, you should be halfway to if you've been working with me for 2 months. So having that empathy gives them permission to be open and be honest, because it's not just somebody going, I understand. I really don't understand. I don't understand where you're at, but I feel your heart and how it hurts right now. And I can relate to the fact that, I have unresolved hurt that I'm dealing with as well. And if we could both get a little bit vulnerable, you might be able to grow through it. Everybody's got that closet where they got the stuff that they put in the box that they don't want to think about, they don't want to talk about. It's giving them permission to be vulnerable, look at it, and then giving them the strength to see that once you open the box and you throw it away, life gets better.
Yeah, that's the power, man. Go look at it. Go talk to it. Go get face-to-face with it and process through it.
Get intimate with it. You're going to see just how small it really is at the end of the day. And that's the thing, I allowed my past to dictate my future for a majority of my adult life to this point. And I'm not proud of my past, but I'm not ashamed of it anymore, or who I was. Grace has this amazing ability to make you new. And the process of sanctification, while it is a lifelong commitment, when you can look at the long view and look back 6 months, look back a year and go, has it gotten better? Yes.
Yep.
All right, then I'm going in the right direction. Yep. And to give people the survival manual, to go ahead and give them permission to take the next step and to, step out in fear, because, that's what courage is. It's seeing, a scary situation and responding anyway. Yeah, man, I'm not losing them.
That's good. That's good, man. We want to make sure we're sharing with our listeners and stuff. What is it you do? What is your business name? How can we contact you? Because I know some listeners out there probably have some work for you. And I know you're already doing some advertising.
We do a little bit of advertising. You might have seen some of our stuff. We are saturating the market right now with our advertising. I am the owner of R&R Handyman, Northwest Ohio, LLC. You can find us on Facebook. Our website is randrnwo.com. That's randrnwo.com. And my phone number is 419-770-0242. And if you can't reach me any of those three places, I don't want to be bothered.
What services do you do?
What services we do? We're primarily interior. We do a lot of bath and kitchen remodels, drywall, vinyl plank, paint, things like that. We also do decks and fences during the season. It's actually where I got my start, building decks with my dad, and figuring all that stuff out. But really, there's not much that bolts onto the house or screws into the house that we don't either do directly or work directly with somebody else who has our same Christian moral values. So we try and come alongside people who hold our same values, because again, with our guys being in recovery, if you're going to be in the same job site as we are, I need to know that my guys are safe, and not safe in the fact, you're going to cause them harm. Like, no, safe, like, again, construction gets kind of a bad rap, They come in the house and they smell like a Cheech and Chong video, or they're half hung over and blurry-eyed. We don't have that situation. Our guys are sober 100% of the time. When they come in, it's yes, ma'am, no, sir. We want to make sure, that we are treating your home as your home and not just our job site. So there's a lot of things that we do in our wheelhouse as far as, the services that we do provide. And if we don't, that's okay. We will be more than happy to tell you that's above my pay grade. Like, I don't do that. So give us a call. We probably do it.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
I know I've used you for several jobs. You've done great work for me. You communicate, you come in quick, you get the job done. If I need it pushed up, you make a way, man. So
they told me a long time ago, 80% of my job is just showing up. And it's amazing how many times I show up to a house and people are like, oh, you're here. And I'm like, well, yeah, and you're early. Isn't that normal? Like, no, I've called 4 other guys and 3 of them didn't show up. The other guy came and didn't leave me with an estimate. If I show up 99% of the time, you're going to have an estimate that day and the ability to actually schedule. And we will book out and we will find, ways to move stuff. One of the nice things about having the size teams that we have is we can move people over. Like, we We have 2 teams running on that job today, but if we got a phone call tomorrow, well, now we have 1 team working there, and we'll shift these guys over there. And worst case scenario, I still swing a hammer. I got plenty of free time. No, I don't.
Jeff, you've got an incredible story, a bright future. It's been an honor having you to chat.
It's been an honor being here.
We always chat on the side anyway. I know this is in front of mics, but we're thrilled to see where your stories come from and where it's going to continue to go. For everybody else who is listening to the podcast, we ask that you go and like us on all the platforms that we're on, see our stuff on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of them. We love to interact with people who are interested in our content, so we ask that you interact with us and check some stuff out and subscribe. Like I said, it's been an honor. We're thrilled to have you, and we look forward to seeing what God does in your life.
Absolutely.
Until next time, we'll see you later. Thanks for joining us today on Courageous Stewards, where legacy meets leadership and faith fuels the journey.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who's ready to step boldly into their calling. Subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected as we continue to explore what it means to lead with conviction, serve with excellence, and build with eternity in mind.
So until next time, keep showing up, keep stewarding well, and remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in motion.